I'm Ebaa Eltamami. I'm the Marketing and Communications Unit Head for an independent project called harassment.
And what is harassment?
harassment is a volunteer-based initiative, actually, with the mission of ending the social acceptability of sexual harassment in Egypt.
And what's the kind of behaviour that you're talking about?
To give you a little bit of background, according to a 2008 study, 83% of Egyptian women surveyed admitted to being sexually harassed. 50% of them said on a daily basis. 67% of men surveyed in the same studies admitted to being harassers or having harassed women in the past, which kind of reflects on our view on the entire issue, which is the fact that part of the reason that it's become such I don't know what to call it, such a phenomena, such a real social issue that we have to deal with on a very urgent level, is the fact that it's become so socially acceptable, combined with the fact that there's no political will to actually resolve the issue. In the past, 20 years ago, when a harasser was caught harassing a girl in the street, he would get caught and his head would be shaved as a mark of shame. Today, if a woman walks down the street and calls for help because she's being harassed, people will tend to sympathize with the harasser or put blame on the girl, or blame the way she dresses or her hair or whatever it is, or the fact that this poor guy is sexually frustrated because he's not able to get married and therefore it gives him the right to do such a thing.
And has the harassment come as part of the set of political changes of the Arab Spring, or is it predating that?
No, sexual harassment has existed in Egypt for the last, for a very long time, and it exists in many places. It has really started increasing in the last 10 to 15 years. In the last couple of years, there has been increased dialogue on the issue, which somehow implies that sexual harassment has in fact increased, but there's no statistics to actually back this up. So it's actually, harassment launched prior to the Egyptian Revolution, because this issue has been pervasive in the Egyptian society for quite some time.
So you map occurrences under different categories. What do you do proactively to change attitudes? So there are several things that we try to do. First of all, we try to break the silence around the issue, especially when we started in 2009. There was still a lot of shame and taboo attached to the subject, and therefore getting people to actually speak out and using crowdsourcing as a tool for actually getting people to speak out was really successful, because it allowed women to anonymously report on harassment incidences and proactively report on harassment incidences that happen to them. So we get these reports and we use them to counter myths and stereotypes and the excuses that I mentioned on why harassment exists and why it's okay for it to exist. And then we take these reports, we create communications campaigns around them, but also we go on the ground through community outreach and talk to people on the streets. So you send people out to talk to people, to men?
Yes, so we have 500 volunteers all over Egypt, divided into their own neighborhoods. They go into their own neighborhoods and talk from the perspective of, we have a serious problem of sexual harassment in our neighborhoods. We need to address this collectively. And they talk to people with a permanent presence in the streets, like doormen, kiosk owners, shop owners, the people who have the ability to create the culture in that street. They can harass themselves, or they can stop harassment from happening when they see it happen. And so we train these volunteers. They go out into the streets and they basically are trained to respond to every myth, stereotype, excuse for harassment, and to educate people about the reality of the magnitude of the issue in Egypt today. And also, when we get to a point where people say, okay, fine, you've convinced me that harassment is an issue in Egypt, however, it does not happen in our neighborhoods, because there's this pride issue. Then our volunteers pull out our maps, pull out our reports, and show these people that no, actually, harassment happens in their very streets, in their very neighborhoods, and therefore they need to play a role in addressing it. And generally, 8 out of 10 people that we talk to respond really positively, because their perception around harassment generally tends to be superficial. They haven't really properly thought about it. So when you scratch the surface and you start to really challenge people's perceptions, they actually respond quite well, especially when you talk from a perspective that's not preachy and more of, this is our neighborhood and we want to do something to fix things and to make it safer for women, for our women, basically.
And what are the safe zones that you were talking about?
So basically, So when people go and talk to people in their own neighborhoods and they find people that are really responsive and enthusiastic about standing up to harassment in their neighborhoods, we mark them as a harassment-free zone. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's harassment-free because you won't necessarily be able to control that. However, it means zero tolerance to harassment, which means that this person, this shop, this kiosk, this whatever it is, promises to stand up to harassment when they see it happen. And these zones are marked with stickers to say that, you know, this is a safe area and therefore you're not allowed to harass here. And if it happens, you need to report it to us with our reporting options, which is SMS, online, through social media, and through our website.
And how many people have made reports so far?
We have around 900 reports so far, which are not representative at all of the reality of how big this issue is. However, the reason for that is that all of our focus since launch in 2009 has been more on the community outreach efforts and less on the reporting. It's just a tool for us to support our arguments. However,
so it's a tool to back the campaign.
Absolutely. However, it has really proven to be really useful in giving us data that we use to counter all of these perception issues. And therefore this year, as part of my marketing plan, we're going to be communicating our reporting options much more widely and on a much more nationwide level in order for more people to report, because we've realized that this data is very useful in our on-ground efforts.
Thanks for talking to me today.